Hey everyone, I'm your host, Courtney Post, and this is Let's Vet Together by Suveto, a show where we'll be highlighting stories of growth, ownership, and well-being in the veterinary industry and having real conversations about how we can make veterinary medicine better for everyone. If this is your first time listening, welcome. We're glad you're here. If you've already been a part of our community, make sure to follow us on whatever platform you're listening from and give us a review to let us know how we're doing. We really appreciate you for coming back. Welcome to Let's Vet Together. Today we are sitting down with Marc Nathan, the CEO of Suveto. Welcome to the podcast, Marc.
Thank you, Courtney. Glad to be here.
I'm shocked we haven't done this yet, actually. It seems like a long time coming for you to come and join us on Let's Vet Together.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I'm glad we're actually doing it. We're doing a topic. Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics.
So, Marc, before we really dive into one of the pillars of Suveto, which is ownership, can you share with us a little bit about your background and just how you made it to the veterinary space?
Yeah, it's been, believe it or not, it's been 15 years since I've been in the profession, which is kind of crazy. I went to school for finance, actually, and my trajectory was really not to be sitting in the seat. For whatever reason, I grew up very interested in business and the art of business and the creativity around it, and not really knowing what to do with that other than studying finance and ultimately ending in a career that was supporting a lot of smaller businesses, all different types of industries, all different types of interesting owners, and really did that in my 20s. I really felt fulfilled on many levels, as far as learning the art of business creativity. But along the way, I felt something was missing. Didn't really see myself in my late 20s. I didn't really see myself doing what I was doing in my 30s and 40s, and really felt that I needed to challenge myself and have a career change, which is enlightening to realize, and then to really contemplate what you do with that energy. And for me, it took a few years to figure out what I really wanted to do. And along the way, I spent a lot of time thinking about animal health, primarily because, my family had grown up treating, our pets as equals to the family. And I remember being in college and a professor having his dog in the classroom and thinking how crazy it would be to be able to have your dog at work. And, for the first, few years of my professional career, finance is kind of stuffy. So I'm wearing a suit. And as I was trying to reimagine what else I could do, the idea of doing something with pets was just interesting. Business Week, which was an old magazine at the time, talked about the pet industry, and this was probably 2005. And I remember thinking about how disconnected I was from the business of pets. And so when I started thinking about ideas of like what I could go do differently, I was spending time thinking about animal health and what business or businesses would be interesting around that. And then in 2006, my wife and I got our first dog. This was pre-kids, and so in many ways, our dog Izzy was our first child. And I remember going to the veterinarian just for normal kind of puppy check and asking the doctor about the business a little bit, and asking kind of who owns veterinary hospitals. And he started to talk about how he does, or how he owns his clinic. And I started to talk to him about his enjoyment of it. And he said it was very unenjoyable. And kind of digging a little bit deeper and asking kind of why that was the case. He was talking about not really having training or time to focus on it. It just wasn't an option for him to not be an owner as far as his trajectory was at the time. And a kind of light bulb went off, which was, why not partner with veterinarians and to do some of the work that, for whatever reason, I'm interested in, and at that point, somewhat trained in, which is kind of the art of business, but respecting my swim lane, which is not medical, clearly. And so in 2009, I ended up quitting the world of finance, recruited two of my good friends at the time who also were looking for a career change. And the three of us started to partner with veterinarians in the Philadelphia area, and ultimately partnered with a clinic in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in April of 2010. And our partner veterinarian, Dr. Bob Sarsfield, is still a good friend of mine. And we just talked the other day. And for about 3-4 days a week, I was commuting from Philly to Harrisburg and trying to learn the business, and in some ways playing an assistant practice manager role for a better part of the year, and really got to enjoy the people, the opportunity to make a difference, to be connected to mission-based professionals, and to kind of learn where I could be helpful. And that was really the start of my career, going back, 15 years ago.
Over those 15 years, Mark, I have to imagine the conversation that you initially had with your veterinarian about who owns his hospital, like that answer has changed dramatically in the last 15 years. So can you give us kind of your perspective on kind of the arc of that change in 15 years, like where ownership has gone in that time, what has led to some of that dramatic shift?
Yeah, I remember, thinking at the time, probably back in 2007, 2008, prior to me quitting, and this is the contemplation, period. I remember thinking that, there was about 25,000 animal hospitals around the country, and over 93% of the time were owned by doctors, individuals. And, I had been in and out of different industries when I was kind of working in the finance world, and to have that amount of the terminology is like fragmentation, the amount of to have that many businesses owned by independent practice owners, it was so kind of distant from what you would see in other industries, whether or not it was human medicine, or even just outside of healthcare. And it kind of made sense at the time, which is, the business side of veterinary care, kind of was not as adapted as human medicine. But for some of the reasons that we've seen the acceleration of consolidation, it made sense that that trajectory would change. And not knowing the speed of it or the timing of it, but it just kind of made sense that it was inevitable. And so I, in some respects, kind of saw where we are today, kind of going back 15 years. I've just been very surprised by what has really transpired over the last, 10 years, because the first 5 years that I was in the industry, it really was not like dramatically different during that 5-year period. But we're today, depending on the statistics, where, something like over, 80% or more of the specialty hospitals are owned by corporate groups. And then just kind of thinking about general practices where, there's not great data on this, but maybe over half are owned by corporate groups. And that is even misleading, because if you kind of remove the one doctor clinics from it, the larger 3+ doctor clinics, there is a significantly higher percentage of corporate ownership there. And most of that corporate pace of growth really happened from 2015 to really 2021. So it is staggering to see how quickly the profession changed and how, in my opinion, little innovation played out during that consolidation, and where today you could see it's confusing to a lot of people in the industry to distinguish, one corporate group from the other, because so many of them appeared around the same time with, relatively speaking, the same business model, really trying to do largely the same thing without really investing in innovation, which usually is the catalyst for change. Whereas I think our profession mostly changed through acquisition, whereas most industries evolve through innovation.
So Suveto, standing for supporting veterinary ownership, obviously has, kind of ownership in the center of its name. It's also in the, one of the three pillars of Suveto. So what about the word ownership, the concept of ownership, influenced your shaping of our organization of Suveto?
Yeah. Well, Courtney, as you know, you and I go back some time now, right? Almost on our 10-year work anniversary.
Yeah, we're there.
We're there.
We're there.
And so, when we met, right, I had pivoted, we had pivoted, but I had pivoted from owning part of a veterinary hospital alongside veterinarians to really trying to inspire and support veterinary ownership through Calico Financial, which is what you and I built alongside of others. And that was very empowering, right, for us, because we were able to kind of demystify the ownership challenge to independent practice owners who were kind of on the fence. We were able to create innovation around financial tools so they could afford and finance acquisitions or startups or renovations themselves, and where we could help those practice owners be successful on the other side. With really the thought process that ownership shouldn't just be for corporate groups, right? That this industry is built on independent ownership, and yes, the profile of a practicing veterinarian is different today than it was 20, 30 years ago, but that doesn't mean that the equity and value creation of what this industry affords, that it shouldn't be allocated to veterinarians opposed to its allocation to the corporate groups. And that was our mission, right, when we were building Calico, to really help support the independent practice owners. And we really did a great job of it. I mean, Calico, which is still part of Suveto today, but at that time, Calico was independent, where we had helped and have helped over 500 practices around the country, and over $1 billion in financing. And in a lot of ways, I think shaping what Suveto has evolved to has been a byproduct of our experience of working with so many great independent practice owners and helping them navigate their own growth opportunities and some of their succession opportunities as they kind of think about their future for themselves and their employees and their stakeholders.
Absolutely. So I happen to know, just that we get to work together every day, and Suveto is also where I get to call home, that we have something very unique within our organization called VSOP, and the Veterinary Stock Ownership Plan. Can you talk to me about what, in general, VSOP is, and why that has been kind of a cornerstone to the whole Suveto network?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to many years of our contemplation, right? Which is, if we believe that consolidation is inevitable, if we believe there is good that comes from a larger ecosystem, can it also be true that ownership could still reside with the veterinary professionals that make this profession what it is, right? And those at times feel like conflicting goals, right? And in fact, I think our industry has reacted over the last really 10 years in a way that it's very binary. It's you're either on the corporate team, or you're on the independent team, but there is no place for a hybrid. Whereas we took the approach that it is actually plausible to create a different trajectory than what I think has been this binary, pace for the last 10 years. And not because we're like sitting here trying to build something that doesn't exist, because outside of the veterinary profession, there are a lot of industries and businesses that foster this version of a hybrid. So in the United States, I believe there's over 6,000 companies that refer to themselves as ESOPs, which is short for an employee stock ownership plan. And so I live outside Philly. We're known for cheesesteaks. We're known for our sports fans, and we're also known for Wawa, which is kind of our convenience store chain that has now spread kind of across the East Coast and other places.
My daughter will argue has the best smoothies.
There you go.
Wawa smoothies.
And Wawa is a great organization. I can go on and on about how great they are, and mission based, but also great products, services, really embedded in their community, and they are partly owned by their employees. They are an ESOP, which basically means that they have given their employees ownership in all of Wawa without those employees having to actually take any financial risk or any legal risk. And that, for me, was very fascinating as far as thinking about how to import the ESOP model to the veterinary profession. Right? It's not incredulous to give away ownership and not doing it because you're a nonprofit, but doing it because you as the organization believe that you are better off having a team of owners than having a corporate owner. Mm-hmm. And so there are some regulatory challenges to import ESOP into the veterinary profession for a variety of reasons. There are some major tax benefits for ESOPs that come if you can qualify for it, but it's also problematic to qualify for a lot of different reasons, which we can talk about in another podcast. But I think once we really understood the power of the program and how it creates just the buy-in and goodwill, and not only on top of it, just the equity opportunity that it creates for employees. I think there's something to be said that the average ESOP employee has twice the amount of savings at the time of retirement than a non-ESOP company. So I think for us, we didn't give up when we ran into some walls about where ESOPs are problematic to import to the veterinary profession. We just got a little creative. So we decided to create our own version of it. So that's where the Veterinary Stock Ownership Plan came from. We realized that if we just drop the E and add the V, we could do what we want. And although we as an organization don't get a tax benefit from the program as if it was an ESOP, at the end of the day, that's not why we're doing it. And so the idea of us creating a ownership program for every single full-time employee that we have across our network, and to provide that for them without them taking any financial risk or legal risk, and just to make it a extra benefit on top of the other benefits that they have without them losing anything, has been a very rewarding outcome for us. It has taken us years to get the program designed, to be able to administrate it, to be able to communicate it. But the fact that we have it across our network of of 1,500 full-time employees is really exciting. And it's just one of the few ownership programs that we're really proud of.
Yeah, so that actually leads me to my next question is, we talked a little bit about Calico and how that is still alive and well within our Suveto organization, but what other ownership programs do we have within Suveto that we are really proud of and that do really speak to the foundation of ownership that exists within our organization?
Yeah, we really tried to create tracks that speak to risk profiles of different individuals, and as well as just their own resource availability. And so organizationally, we think of ownership in a few different categories. One is the VSOP, which we talked about, which is ownership for every full-time employee without them taking any risk. And that program starts when they are employed, right? So there's not this whole big waiting period for them. The other ownership program, as you mentioned, is Calico, where we can still provide full financing for a veterinarian or sometimes practice manager who wants to go and buy their own clinic, to start their own clinic. We have the ability to finance them, and they can own 100% and go be successful on their own. In addition to those two programs, we have a few other programs that we're excited about. One of those programs speak to existing practice owners who are looking for their own succession purposes. And in that, we have what we call our legacy owner program, which allows for existing practice owners to join Suveto, to contribute their hospital into our larger network, for them to get full value for their hospital and to retain ownership in what is the larger Suveto ecosystem. So that's a legacy owner. We have a managing owner program, which really speaks to veterinarians who have not historically owned a practice, but where they can actually do that alongside of us. So where Suveto will help build a new hospital, where Suveto will take a disproportionate amount of the financial risk, where we'll take all the legal risk, and where we provide ownership for free outside of the VSOP to help really enhance the ownership opportunities, knowing that a veterinarian may not have all the resources that Suveto does. So if they're going to invest some of their money, they can get more ownership than they would get if it was just their invested dollars. We'll give them more ownership on top of that. Mm-hmm. And so we have plenty of examples where we have and are building new hospitals and helping these managing owners be successful first-time owners, and in some instances, helping them continue to grow from one hospital that they own to multiple hospitals. And then our last ownership program we have, which is something that you know very well since you've helped design a lot of it, which is our GO program, which is our graduate to ownership program, which is really our 2-year business fellowship for new veterinarians, veterinarians who just maybe gotten done vet school, who want to go learn how to be great doctors and at the same time learn how to navigate the business side of our profession, and on the other side of what is a structured 2-year program where they can convert to a managing owner by building a new hospital with us, or frankly for them maybe to do it on their own through getting a Calico loan. So really a range of ownership trajectories that should speak to a lot of the working professionals that are out there, that runs the gamut of take all the risk, take no risk, take some of the risk, and partner with us, and where we can really help this next generation fulfill their ownership opportunities in a way that feels fulfilling and is also consistent with today's reality, because today is different than where the profession was certainly when I got into 15 years ago, let alone where this profession was before I was introduced to the profession.
You had a crystal ball, Mark. 15 years from now, what do you think the veterinary profession looks like? And what does the ownership landscape look like?
I don't know. It's moving so fast. I think I'd rather be myopic in my answer and say what Suveto will be like. I think that there's going to be a lot of consolidation among the consolidators, right? I think you're going to have a lot of these corporate groups buy or be sold by other corporate groups. So you're going to, I think, have less variety there. I think that's the next wave. But I think for us, we have such a unique value proposition, and our hope is to find some good legacy owners that we feel are like-minded, and that we really are growing by providing the next wave of veterinary owners path to ownership that fits their lifestyle, and for us to serve the clients with excellence. So I think for us, we are a relatively young company. We were started about 5 years ago, and we have a lot of growth opportunities between the hospitals that we support, Calico. We have not talked about Harbor, which is kind of where your ideas kind of sprung into reality. We're really supporting the students of today and helping them kind of think about their professional development. And for us, at the end of the day, we just want to continue to make an impact and to help empower our veterinary professionals to be the best that they can, whether or not it's through growth, supporting their well-being, and certainly helping this ownership side of their experience turn into something really valuable.
Well, it is an honor to be able to build this alongside you, Marc, and also to finally talk about what is at the core of what we do, all of our ownership programming, and particularly VSOP. It's been a long road, and this year has been an exciting one for us to really open up that program to all veterinary professionals, not just veterinarians, but every single full-time veterinary professional within the Suveto network. And this has been great and very exciting to be on this ride with you. So thank you.
Likewise, my friend.